This lecture covers some of Chapter 21.1, as well as some other information from other chapters along the way. The information in this lecture will be on your test and your final. The objectives of this lecture are to identify the evolutionary order and major divisions of plants. We will cover non-vascular plants, non-seed vascular plants, vascular seed-producing plants. Vascular means that it has an internal structure which moves water and nutrients around. Think of it as a plant version of veins and arteries. Plants first evolved in water. In water, many needs were taken care of. In order to move onto land, plants had to evolve and change. The chart on this page illustrates what was needed to move onto land. In water, plants did not need a way to support their structure. Their leaves would float to the surface for photosynthesis. Fertilization took place in the water, where the sperm could easily get to the eggs via the water. All organisms need water within them so that substances move easily in and out of their cells. In a water environment, this isn't an issue. Plants and their cells could not dry out because they're surrounded by water. Moving on land, however, presented some problems. Because as the plant grew, how could it stay upright if it didn't have the water to buoy it? How could sperm get to the egg? And how could the plant not dry out without being in water all the time? Non-vascular plants were the first plants to move onto land. Non-vascular plants did not have a vascular system. This means they cannot transport water and nutrients throughout their system. As a result, these plants are really low growing. Without a vascular system, they cannot grow tall. They have no structure. Their nutrients must instead flow in and out of water via the surrounding water. Reproduction, the mixing of the egg and the sperm, must take place in the water. Again, these plants must exist in the presence of standing water for this to happen. The outside covering of these plants is relatively thin. Again, staying in a watery environment is a necessity. The next kind of plant to evolve are the non-seed-bearing plants with a vascular system. This means that these plants have an internal structure that transports water and nutrients around. Because of this, the plants are able to grow taller than the non-vascular plants. These plants produce spores, but not true seed. They must, however, still have water in order for the sperm to reach the spores. These plants have a high need for water. Species that fall into this category are ferns, and they grow in areas with high humidity and high water. You might have been in forests, rainforests, things like that, where you've seen these kind of plants growing. The last kind of plants to evolve on land are the vascular plants. These are plants that have evolved a system to transport water and nutrients around the plant, as well as seeds. As a result, these plants can grow tall. They have developed ways of conserving water when water is in short supply. Additionally, they have adapted a way to complete fertilization without being standing in water, without the presence of water all the time. There are two main groups of vascular plants, and we're going to have labs on both of these. Gymnosperms are plants that produce cones. Think about pine trees and other plants that you've seen that produce cones. We'll go into these types of plants in a later lecture. The second group of vascular seed-bearing plants are angiosperms. These plants produce flowers. Flowers contain the male and the female portion needed for fertilization. This chart is a good summary comparison of the three plants that evolved to live on land. Think about when and where you have seen these kind of plants. We'll be spending time looking at these over the next couple of weeks, but I really think that this chart here might help you as you study.